In the early 1950s Soviet Union, a fabricated conspiracy turned innocent lives into scapegoats, revealing the dark underbelly of Joseph Stalin's regime. Welcome to the Before Now channel, where we delve into the shadows of history to uncover the truth behind one of the most chilling episodes of anti-Semitism. In today's episode, we'll be exploring the Doctor's Plot, a sinister conspiracy orchestrated by Stalin that targeted Jewish physicians in the Soviet Union. This episode sheds light on how fear and suspicion were weaponized against an entire community, leading to torture, public vilification, and a climate of dread among Soviet Jews. If you find this topic compelling, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below. The Doctor's Plot is a fabricated conspiracy that emerged in the early 1950s in the Soviet Union, primarily targeting Jewish medical professionals. The event is a crucial example of the pervasive anti-Semitism during Joseph Stalin's regime and highlights the political machinations that characterized his rule. Following World War II, Stalin's grip on power tightened, and his paranoia about perceived enemies within the state grew. However, Lydia Timoshuk, a radiologist born in Kyiv, Ukraine, played a pivotal role in igniting the Doctor's Plot during her time in service. In 1948, she alleged that several doctors had intentionally misdiagnosed and mistreated high-ranking officials, notably Andrei Zhdanov, who died in August 1948. Timoshuk claimed these actions led to Zhdanov's premature death due to a myocardial infarction. Within a short period of time, these accusations were framed within a broader context of conspiracy, suggesting that these doctors were part of a Zionist plot to undermine Soviet leadership. This narrative was exploited by Stalin and his inner circle to further their political agendas. Consequently, in 1952, Stalin accused a group of doctors, most of whom were Jewish, of plotting to assassinate Soviet leaders. This was not merely a case of scapegoating, it was a calculated move to instill fear and consolidate power. The trigger for this plot was the death of a prominent political figure, whose demise was manipulated by Stalin to suggest foul play by Jewish doctors. As a result of this, in January 1953, the Soviet newspapers Pravda and Izvestia publicly announced the arrest of 9 doctors, namely Miron Vovsi, a renowned therapist and Stalin's personal physician; Vladimir Nikitich Vinogradov, a therapist and also a personal doctor to Stalin; Mikhail Kogan and his brother Boris Kogan, both of whom were therapists; P. Yegerov, a therapist; A. Feldman, an otolaryngologist; Yakov Edinger, a therapist; Alexander Grinstein, a neuropathologist; and G. Mayarov, a therapist. 6 of the 9 aforementioned doctors were Jewish and were accused of conspiring to assassinate certain prominent leaders, with notable mentions. Alexander Sherbakov, head of the main political administration of the Soviet Army, died in 1945. Andrei Zhdanov, Central Committee Secretary, died in 1948. The charges included poisoning these leaders and attempting to murder several high-ranking military officials, including Marshals Vasilevsky Konev and Govorov. Hence, Stalin's Minister of State Secretary Semyon Dezinovich Ignatiev was tasked with leading the investigation, under immense pressure from Stalin, who demanded swift results and confessions. In September 1952, a total of 37 doctors were eventually acquitted, and they faced unimaginable horrors. Tortured and coerced into confessing to crimes they did not commit, these men became symbols of Stalin's paranoia, as Stalin ordered the secret police to beat them with death blows until they confessed. This advice was followed with immediate effect, and eventually, 2 of the accused died under interrogation. But still, the elements of the grand plan just did not fit together. The media branded them as criminals in white coats, further vilifying them in the eyes of the public. In no time, the atmosphere was rife with fear. Stalin's paranoia extended even to members of his own Politburo. The accusation against the doctors was part of a broader campaign against Jews in the Soviet Union, exacerbated by fears surrounding the establishment of Israel and rising national sentiments among Soviet Jewry. In essence, they served as Stalin's scapegoats. This atmosphere created a chilling effect on Jewish intellectuals and professionals who found themselves increasingly marginalized. Let's break this down a little. The doctors were used as pawns in a larger game of political manipulation. Under immense pressure, many were forced to confess to fabricated plots, and the media was used as a tool in portraying these doctors as enemies within. Moreover, this plot also served as a means for Stalin to consolidate power by eliminating perceived threats from both within and outside his administration. On the other hand, he also intended to publish in Pravda, a letter signed by many prominent Soviet Jews, in which the Jews involved in the plot would be denounced, and differences between them and other Soviet Jews, those loyal to the USSR and to socialism, would be made clear. Two versions of the letter were created, but it was never published. Either Stalin eventually decided not to publish it, or it was still being worked on at the time of his death. Before we continue, if you find this matter interesting, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below. The narrative takes a dramatic turn with Stalin's death on March 5, 1953. Just days before his passing, he had planned extensive purges against those he deemed threats, including these innocent doctors. However, his sudden demise halted what could have been a catastrophic escalation of violence against Jews in the USSR. A month after Stalin's death on the 5th of March 1953, the new leadership quickly dismissed all charges related to the plot, as Pravda announced that the charges against the doctors were entirely fabricated. This revelation shocked not only the Jewish community, but also the entire Soviet populace, as many had lived in fear for months under false accusations that could have led to their execution. For this reason, the doctors were exonerated in a 31 March decree by the newly appointed Minister of Internal Affairs, Lavrentiy Beria. And on the 6th of April, this was communicated to the public. The chief state police investigator and deputy minister of state security, Mikhail Ryumin, were, however, accused of fabricating the plot and were further arrested and later executed. In his 1956 secret speech, First Secretary Nikita Khrushchev began recollecting certain details of the plot and how Stalin crafted everything about it, as he stated that the doctor's plot was fabricated, set up by Stalin, but that Stalin did not have the time in which to bring it to an end, which saved the doctors' lives. Khrushchev also told the session that Stalin called the judge in this case, and regarding the methods to be used, stated, "Beat, beat, and beat again." Stalin supposedly told his Minister of State Security, "If you do not obtain confessions from the doctors, we will shorten you by a head." Khrushchev also claimed that Stalin hinted to him to incite anti-Semitism in Ukraine, saying, "The good workers of the factory should be given clubs so they can beat the hell out of those Jews." According to Khrushchev, Stalin told Politburo members, "You are blind like young kittens. What will happen without me? The country will perish because you do not know how to recognize enemies." He also asserted that Stalin intended to use the doctor's trial to launch a massive purge of the Communist Party. After the de-Stalinization, life in the Soviet Union became a little less scary for everyone, but Jews still faced challenges. Over the next 40 years, anti-Semitism in the Soviet Union had its ups and downs. During the Brezhnev era, the government promoted anti-Jewish sentiments, while also easing restrictions on immigration. This allowed about 200,000 Jews to leave the country, with many moving to Israel. Later, during the periods of Glasnost and Perestroika, almost 1 million more Jews left, again mostly heading to Israel. A significant number of these immigrants were doctors, which greatly strengthened Israel's healthcare system. In the end, Stalin's plan to suppress Jewish people failed simply because he died before he could finish it. The ironic twist is that many Jewish doctors who were once looked down upon in the Soviet Union are now thriving professionals in Israel. One can only imagine how Stalin would feel about that. The doctor's plot serves as a stark reminder of how political paranoia can lead to widespread injustice and persecution. It exemplifies how Stalin's regime exploited anti-Semitism, not only for political gain, but also as a means of scapegoating an entire community during times of crisis. This event remains significant in understanding both Soviet history and the broader implications of state-sponsored anti-Semitism. It illustrates how easily truth can be manipulated for power and control, a lesson that resonates throughout history. Thank you for joining us today as we uncovered this dark chapter in history. If you found this episode insightful, don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into historical events that shaped our world. Share your thoughts in the comments. What do you think about how fear can be used as a tool for oppression? Until next time.